Welcome back to our Groundskeeper Chat series. I'm your host, Meg Kruger, and today we bring you the final drop from our special edition Groundskeeper Chat Tiger Turf Talk collaboration series. So this episode was recorded during the SFMA conference in Salt Lake City, and you'll hear some hustle and bustle in the background of this one, as this was actually the first episode that was recorded once the trade show opened. So if you were walking in those double doors, you probably saw Drew and our guest recording. And finally, we are here to present you the final product, this episode, which features Mr. Patrick Coakley, more fondly known as Irish, and he is a Mid-Atlantic sales representative for DuraEdge. But today, the two gentlemen talk a little bit about the state of the industry, what our current challenges are, what are some ways that we can promote the industry as sports turf professionals and vendors, what challenges currently face the industry, and just some of the ways that we could, engage people that are outside of the sports turf world. And they specifically talk about, having parents buy into the priorities of player safety and playability. So lots of great golden nuggets embedded in this chat. Patrick Coakley, he comes to the chat with over 20 years of experience in the minor leagues as a head groundskeeper before he joined the other side of the dirt, where he has a fresh perspective on providing customers with great expertise on how to revitalize and rebuild their fields. So without further ado, I'll let the two gentlemen take it away. Enjoy our final drop from the Pioneer Athletics Groundskeeper Chat in the Brentsville Turf Program Tiger Turf Talk special collaboration series.
All right, live from the trade show floor here in Salt Lake City at SFMA. Irish, you and I have worked a lot recently with the Virginia SFMA board. A lot of stuff going on, working with DuraEdge. What's it been like sort of coming to the conference, obviously doing all the work that we do in Virginia, and obviously you have the great area in Maryland and all that, but coming together and seeing everybody sort of in that space?
Oh, it's been great. This conference is always mostly a giant reunion. Mm-hmm. So it's, first off, just great to see everybody that I've gotten to know over the years. Specifically, with Virginia SDMA, we had a nice event with Massimo. Finally combining those two groups.
There was we can get into that, but I was excited. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's spoken of rivalry that,
that no one knows about.
That no one knows about.
Exactly.
But it's great, it was awesome getting those, all those people together, because it's people I work with all the time.
Yeah.
So having them all in one place is just really nice, and the whole event was great.
Absolutely. And again, there's so much that goes into it, and be able to work with you has been great, and getting to know you, obviously, as a professional in the industry, and you being able to see my kids and everything. We've talked about it a lot with high school programs. What's sort of your take on sort of the future and sort of maybe again, just your personal experiences with even our program at Brentsville?
I would say programs like yours are the future, 100%. The numbers at the colleges have been dwindling way before COVID. We've been talking about that for, 10, 12 years now. They've been talking about that. So to get people interested in the industry, it's going to be a grassroots effort.
Absolutely.
And so the things that I saw you doing on that campus, it was just, I was sitting there watching it, and I was amazed. And it just looked like a lot of fun. That was the biggest thing. The kids were fantastic. The fact that they came out on their own time to help out with that, it was... and then, when I met the gentleman from California that you introduced me to, there's the same thing out there. And all those other schools that are, seems like Virginia has a lot of it going on. So
for sure.
I think everybody else in this industry has to kind of follow that lead, because that's where it is, man. We got to get these kids before they get to college to make sure that they know it's even a profession that they can go towards.
100%. And we were able to give a talk, Miss Withrow and I, so Kelly for saying that, but about sort of the awareness of the industry. And again, you've been through the hard times of minor league baseball and loving the passion behind it, because it is really a passion industry and everything that goes into it. What do you sort of see as those next steps of bringing that to light and really showcasing? Obviously, high school programs do that, but we got to reach a broader base bigger group, what do you sort of see being those steps as an industry, as an organization, as a company like DuraEdge?
I would say we've got to get involved with groups that are outside of the sports turf industry. Kind of a work we're doing with the Maryland Turfgrass Council and MASMA. We've hired a lobbyist. Now it's for a bit of a different purpose.
Yes.
But part of what we're doing is getting out in front of legislators to just show them that we exist. A lot of people don't even know that being a sports staff manager is a thing. You may see them on TV, but they don't know how, you can do that for a living? They'll pay you to do that,
Yeah.
So it's really that simple. Getting out there and, making sure people understand what we do, that, we just exist. Because think about one of the biggest problems in our country from a sports turf, from a sports turf angle is the fact that they don't exist at the public high school level.
Correct.
They really don't.
It's hard. There's no money in their funding, apparently.
Right, exactly. So if you're going to have a sports program and you're not going to have somebody hired to take care of those fields, and, you're just putting your athletes at risk. So to me, it's very that simple. Just get out and let people know this is what we've been doing for years, for decades.
Yeah.
And work with groups that are outside of the turf industry.
Completely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, the biggest thing I think is that we struggle in the sense of, we don't have the funding, we don't have the resources. When really, if you put out, and I know Dr. Straw at Texas A&M doing some of this, but if we put out a comprehensive sort of plan for, say, a high school, and point out, hey, if you go with a natural grass playing surface with this type of soil and this type of grass, depending on your location, you can hire someone to manage that while saving money, while not going, say, the artificial route or going a different route. Putting in a DuraEdge infield will pay you in the long run because you don't understand that everything that goes into your infield, what you've put into it over the years, all these different things, it's diminished the quality and the ability of managing that surface. So if that's at a spec and people can sort of go off the spec, I feel like that might be sort of a way of bringing that around and bringing awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously you guys do a lot of work with DuraEdge and just trying to promote that to the next level. How has it been sort of being a part of that organization, obviously with Grant and everybody that's involved?
It's been fantastic. And the reason, I don't know if I could work for anybody else on this side of the fence.
Yeah.
I have always tended to be a bit of an idealist. And that's my perception of DuraEdge. They're, as a company, that's how they are.
Yeah.
They're not just selling dirt to people. They want to solve problems on athletic fields.
Educate,
absolutely. And just help people get better.
Yeah.
We want everybody that we work with to be successful, whether it's a turf manager, whether it's a coach, whoever it is. So, just the whole ideal of the company just fit with me. So personally, it was great.
Absolutely. And with your time there, obviously you take time from when you were in the minor leagues and working all these different facilities. How has it been sort of bringing that product to, again, what has become the standard in the industry? Being a part of that, sort of creating the standard, what has that been like for you working with those guys?
It's really wild. And I was talking about this, I think it was last night. I had been in minor leagues for 20-some years, right? Mm-hmm. And I was always a dirt guy.
100%.
I don't have a turf degree, so dirt was where it's at,
Kill the dirt that fast, right?
Exactly. So I always thought, that's where I hung my hat.
Yeah,
I know dirt. Sure. You can't tell me anything about dirt.
100%.
And then DuraEdge comes along and screws the whole thing up.
Like, come on.
And it's like, yeah.
Why are you trying to ruin it?
So just what they've done, the dirt portion of sports turf was so far behind everything else. The science was into everything except that.
Yeah.
So when they did it, they accomplished what we groundskeepers were trying to do for years and years and years with all our little tricks, taking care of the dirt. They did it by putting the science behind it and making this material. And, it changed everything. It's an industry disturber. There's no question about it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, for sure. Obviously, there's so many things going on when it comes to a business. What are some of the big things that DuraEdge has been working on? I know you guys do a lot for the minor league symposium that's coming up. What has it been like sort of taking what you've created with the product of DuraEdge and sort of benefiting those that are using that product and being able to give back in a sense?
Yeah, that, our involvement with the minor league baseball was exactly that. That group saw it as important that they get together to network, and they have some very industry specific problems that they deal with, and to be able to sit in a room and chew through that is huge. So the fact that DuraEdge was in a unique position, because we work with all these guys.
Yeah,
sure. We know them well, and we with the team that we have with myself, Luke Yoder, Tom Burns, Paul Zwaska, we've been through what they've been through. So it was nice to be able to just organize that for them, and get them on their feet, kind of send them on their way, and hopefully they'll be able to take control of this on their own. So that's our goal for them. But yeah, it was really neat to be in a position where we were just uniquely suited to be able to help them.
Absolutely. Is there anything in the works maybe in the future? Obviously, DuraEdge becomes such a standard in the major leagues, the minor leagues, and we were talking about it, and I think Nick McKenna mentioned it, but sort of that trickle-down effect. There's obviously different ways, different standards, different people that don't really understand the need of water or moisture management. Like, understand, there are so many things that have to be done to ensure that this field plays the same from January 1st to the end of your baseball fall season. Is there anything you guys are working on at a different level? If I'm allowed to ask, if not, that's fine.
Well, from a DuraEdge standpoint, it's almost like to stay the course.
Sure.
And, we started from the top down.
Yeah.
And because everybody sees that, but the misconception sometimes is that to buy DuraEdge, you got to be a Division I college or a pro team. But we've shown throughout the country that it works very effectively in Little League
100%.
Or youth baseball or whatever it is. Now, the other trend I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen this as well.
Yeah.
Park and Rec used to get picked on. Mm-hmm. I see so much talent from a sports turf perspective going to the Park and Recs.
100%.
I think about just in Maryland, between Montgomery Parks and Prince George's County, you've got CSFMs, there's Penn Staters, there's Virginia Tech grads, they're all over the
Go
place.
Hokies.
Yeah, go Hokies.
We are not Penn State.
But the amount of talent that these people that they have now, and you're seeing better and better playing surfaces at the Park and Rec level.
Yeah.
So that's something that, we jump into, and, sports tourism.
Yeah.
Like where I used to work at Ripken, obviously that was a big part of it. So we showed that, all right, if you make the playing surface better,
yeah,
from a business standpoint, people are going to show up. They're going to want to play on your fields.
100%.
They're going to want to participate in your tournaments. Plus, it's just easier to take care of, and it's safer. So, that's our big thing, is we want to show that this can be done at every level of baseball.
For sure.
It's going to help every single field out there.
Absolutely. And something that you've been able to do, I think there was a podcast where it was like a Little League sort of group that put together, and I could be wrong.
It was
just trying to...
slide podcast.
Yeah, so with that, there's such a broader base. Again, it's with all areas of sports field management. It's not just baseball, infields, and everything. It's with that, what was sort of your experience of, again, it's saying this product truly is something that can benefit anyone at any level, and being able to sort of grow the brand of DuraEdge while growing sort of that awareness we were talking about before when it comes to just our industry as a whole. And again, I think it's one of the easiest things to do as in an industry is to start putting signages up in Little League, just in their complexes is the word. Just Little League complexes. You're like, what's that?
Right.
Who's that? What is the point of that sign? People will start looking stuff up, why not?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, those dugout signs, we used to do them, I don't know that we've done them in a while, but, it's got the top 10 rules for playing on this field or something like that, But yeah, there's, I lost my train of thought, but
Little League,
from that podcast, that's where the education comes from. The way I like to say it, sometimes taking care of a sports field is like owning a restaurant. Anybody that goes to a restaurant thinks they can run a restaurant just because they ate there a lot. you know, and you get that same kind of dynamic with, you know, coaches. You know, they've been coaching for 30 years, and but that doesn't automatically make them an expert in field maintenance. It could sometimes, but they're experts at coaching baseball or coaching softball. We're the experts at taking care of that playing surface. So, you know, that's something that, again, the education, we like to try to help the coaches and just break it down and make it very simple. And that particular podcast that I was on it was a lot of fun because, you know, I get to draw on my experience dealing with the youth baseball at Ripken and that whole tournament dynamic.
Yeah.
And some of the just common mistakes I would see coaches make.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, you know, is just, hey, they're just kids.
Don't worry.
This playing surface is just fine. And I said, no, you know, you're talking about young men and women that are, you know, have feet way bigger than their body is supposed to at that point.
100%.
You know, less athletic ability, less skill in that particular sport, and you're going to throw them out on a substandard playing surface. That's just a recipe for disaster.
And I think that's one of the biggest things is like bringing that sort of sense of standard to not just, again, a college or a professional level, but like when you have young kids who are developing at, say, middle school or high school age, like there are things that are going on in their body that they might have an issue if there's like a poor managed field that they're playing on, you know, like there are so many things that we don't take into account that, again, we've talked about it with the high school programs as sort of the parent advocate and dealing with the parents in the sense of, in our programs, we have certain things that we do, and it's kind of like, we don't want our kids on heavy machinery. Like, but we're setting the standard of everything's done in a safe way. We're ensuring that everything is going to go perfectly. We're going to make sure that this thing. How do you think we can sort of get that standard out to, say, the Soccer Mom Association, if they have one? You know?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, you know, hey, you tell a mom that their kid has potential to get injured,
yeah,
and you'll see some fired up people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, in my travels, I am always amazed how often I hear when I'm talking to coaches or talking to somebody that takes care of a field, and I'll say, "Well, how does it play?" And they say, "Oh, we get, you know, kids getting hit in the face with baseballs usually 3-4 times a practice."
Jeez.
So it's like, and I sit there for a second. I go, like, so every day this is oh yeah, every day. And I've seen that at the college level. I've seen it at the youth level, every level.
Yeah.
And so if you start letting parents know this stuff, you know, then you'll see some fired up action taking place. And,
sure.
You know, I always thought there was a coach that disagreed with me, and I was actually happy that he did. But I always thought, you know, there's no better way to ruin a kid's desire to learn the game of baseball by having him get hit in the face with a ball. You know,
and it's a sad truth, but it's a very quick way to learn.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, the coach in his experience didn't see that, and I was glad. I'm like, well, that's good. But, you know, the kid's still getting hit in the face with a ball. So, you know.
Which can be prevented with this product.
Right. So, yeah, that's, I think, again, it comes down to education for groups outside of our industry.
100%. And I think there are so many people that are making strides in that direction where we can start having something where we're handing something out along with sort of like a spreadsheet of what needs to be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're currently going through a whole process with our game field, and obviously I've got a background in it and whatnot, but there are so many things that we don't take into account when you're renovating a field when it comes to your soil, everything on the subgrade, trying to fit drainage into a budget, trying to figure out which way the wind's blowing when it comes to your sort of source of funding.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to figure it out on your own. You're going to have to do all these different things. Like, there are so many different things that we're trying to make sure, trying to ensure with everyone. It's hard to sort of get everyone on board. And what I've noticed a lot is that everyone kind of is on board when it comes to like the fields being a certain way. Artificial turf, like, I don't care if I bring it up. I don't care. Everybody yell at me.
Yeah.
People don't like playing on it.
No.
Athletes hate it. And again, there are some athletes that'll say otherwise, but it's very few. High school students hate playing on it.
Yeah.
They hate, and it might just because of the rubber pellets, but again, they just don't like it. So
Yeah.
where do we get people behind the fact that, oh, look, we're actually trying to help you? Like, maybe you could help us make it happen. You know what I mean?
Well, you brought up the construction aspect, and I think that's a huge part of it because, a lot of these architecture firms that are designing fields for schools or something like that, that's not their expertise. Their expertise is making a building, not necessarily designing a sports field. And, that's why some of the specs I see for construction are absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
You see one for an artificial turf field, and there's 18 pages of specs for that thing.
Yeah.
And in the same document, that'll be for the football field. Then you look for the specs for the baseball field, and it's like, all right, just move some dirt around and throw out some seed.
Yeah.
And then they hold those two fields and try to compare them.
Yeah.
And it's not even close to being a fair comparison. So that's one aspect. Get out there and let people know there are firms that specialize in sports turf construction.
Yeah.
Contractors, sports turf contractors. All of this is very important. So,
yeah, it's for sure. It's just, where do we get everybody on board, and how do we? And the other thing that, again, I always like, it's so simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about, there are so many different levels, of resources, levels of pretty much everything that we know and need. There are people that can afford this, but there are people that are higher up that can afford this. You're in a specific location that requires 50 million things,
Yeah.
But again, I could be crazy, but I think we can get there at some point. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, we just got to branch out. If we just talk to sports turf managers and do nothing but SFMA, it's our own little echo chamber.
yeah,
We know it. So we got to just, spread our wings a little bit and let the general public know who we are.
for sure. There are obviously a lot of people walking in. For those that don't know,
Yeah.
we just started.
I feel like I'm at a food concert.
Yeah, right. Everybody's staring at us. It's like, great.
In the
Nice
fishbowl.
to see you. With everything, obviously, you and I are working towards a big event here in Northern Virginia. What are some of the things that you think we can bring to the table when it comes to, again, a regional event in, a state chapter for SFMA?
Oh, gosh, the list is long. I mean, there's so many different ways.
One
I know, there's just so much you can do. I think, your original idea, get the athletic directors there. We got to get the athletic directors involved.
Couldn't agree with you.
There's, talk about a group that needs our help, so.
Terribly.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love you guys, but sorry. You need us.
Yeah, you do. And, and that's the thing. Hey, their expertise is in athletic administration.
Mm-hmm.
Ours isn't taking care of fields. So they just take advantage of us. That's why we're here.
Here's us. We're here for you.
I would say if it's not ADs, maybe get principals.
It's true.
The coaches, they're hit or miss. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, So, yeah, as far as topics, I mean, goodness, I would say just keep it to the basics.
For sure.
Keep it to the basics. That's, where to start.
And again, we had some good talks, and you brought in some great guys to do the talks. I think one of the big things we can add is an artificial talk. And I know we don't like artificial, but it is definitely needed. I'll say in Northern Virginia, in our areas, the fields aren't kept to where they need to be. And I think you've seen it. And, it's kind of tragic because I keep bringing it up and I'll never give it up, honestly, is the fact that NFL teams, they're replacing their fields after 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's maintained at the highest level by the professionals who know what they're doing. And we have high school athletic directors who don't touch the field, and they're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
It's maintenance free. Don't want to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that they need to see. Like, if this, and ours will be like one season played on, but I think it's important to make sure we have that, just again because we want the safest playing surface possible, even if it is synthetics.
Yeah, and you're talking about something that the sports turf manager, when all of a sudden he's got an artificial turf field to take care of.
Yeah,
they're not just going to ignore it.
100%.
They know it's their job to keep that athlete safe, and that's part of so they're gonna take care of that surface
for sure.
Now, I think, to your point, one really effective talk might be, let's have an actual true breakdown of what it takes, side-by-side comparison of a natural field versus a synthetic field. And
You want to smile for the camera? Yeah. Sorry. Good.
yeah, and break all that down. The time it takes to groom a field, the time compared to, mowing a natural field. And, and we can go back and forth so coaches, ADs, they can all see what that true comparison is. And, because there's a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
And everybody assumes that they're just, you throw that carpet down and you got nothing else to do.
God, I love that boss.
But yes.
I cap it,
Yeah. So
Going to Fenway.
that's 100%.
No, but again, something that I think would be cool, and again, I don't know what we're doing site-wise, because you brought up loud, and I thought we were doing a pretzel, but I'm fine with whatever, was the fact that we were doing sort of a field renovation while we were in that point. So we'd be sprigging at that point.
That's right. That's right.
Something about sort of like, again, sort of understanding the need for juvenile growth, because there are, again, this goes back to, again, we love the athletic directors, but they just don't know.
Right.
There's the word vertic cutting is not in their vocabulary. You know what I mean? They don't understand what that means. They don't know what thatch is. They don't understand any of those things. So I think something like that, if we can make sure we have the athletic directors there, would be a great talk about how this is sprigging. Obviously, some of you have seen it, some of you don't know what it is, but at the same time, like, how can we sort of develop that knowledge at, I'm not saying like a minimal rate, but like somewhat where we can be like, okay, everybody knows what we're talking about,
Well, it's funny you say that. That's why Steve Ruckman's talk that day was
Perfect.
was so effective, because
Love that.
it was.
By the way.
Yeah, he's
Congratulations, him.
yeah,
Isaac.
100%. Yes. So what Ruck talked about, aeration, and the fact that, this goes to what you were just saying. Aeration is not a luxury item. That's what it was perceived to be by
Bare minimum.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, it's as essential as mowing. I mean, it is absolutely 100%. That's the big differentiator in whether you're going to have a good field or not.
Yeah.
So that's, there's part of the education. That's, that aerator you want to buy is not a luxury item. It's as important as that mower.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. People just don't see it that way, unfortunately.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was lucky enough to sneak in with like a COVID purchase. So I was like,
Yeah.
give me right there,
Yeah.
Small boy. And again, I mean, we can go 1,000 different directions with the field day. Is there anything like else specific to, like, again, I'm not saying we're benefiting DuraEdge, but again, as a sponsor and everything, I always like to, again, have the opportunity to discuss those things. Like, Blackstick has been a revolutionary thing to our industry. Because, don't get me wrong, and Pro Story is a great option. It's just, I remember the hours upon hours of prepping, now you're just right out of the bag. It's the same thing. So, what is something baseball, softball wise that we could do that would be something beneficial to, again, those Northern Virginia guys and girls?
It's how to deal with weather. That's always a huge one, for sure, especially in baseball and softball. It's because it's such a unique aspect with the dirt areas. I will say this, a lot of times we worry about weather so much that we forget that field has to play well when it's sunny out.
Yeah.
So if we could, it's almost, this with infield skins, it's all about moisture management.
For sure.
Right. And gosh, like I say, as much as I talk about this in my regular job, that's why I have a talk called, Back to Basics.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you can just stick with the basics, that's really all you need.
Really?
At the major league level, it's not like they have fancy techniques that they do,
There's not 17 steps that you don't know about.
Right, exactly. They're just able to, they've got 17 guys for one field. So
It just helps a little bit.
they're able to just be more diligent and more attention to detail,
For sure.
with those very basics.
Yes.
So
And it just makes it look amazing.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's, I think, the thing that I try to get through to people is that we're not talking about complex things here. So anybody can do it. You're just gonna have the will to do it, and you know what? It does take some effort.
Very much.
That's the bottom line.
Very much so.
You got to find somebody that's willing to put in the sweat.
And again, I think that high school program aspect sort of showcases the fact that, like, if you just put in a little effort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
from what our field was when I got there to where it is now, it's not like I am like this big, like, oh, we changed everything. It was just the basic needs weren't being met. And it wasn't it wasn't their fault in any way, shape, or form. It was just they didn't have the knowledge to, again, prep themselves for all those things of getting stares with people.
Yeah, there's your partner in crime over there. Yeah. So, well, did you find with your kids, like I found some of the best kids that worked for me didn't know a thing about baseball, didn't know a thing about really athletics at all, but they just, oh my God, I get to work outside.
Yeah.
But then they started, once they started learning, they took such pride in what they did.
For sure.
So I imagine with your group, you've got a group of however many kids.
Yeah.
So they're probably a diverse bunch.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I imagine you got some athletes. I saw the dude in the cowboy boots, so I loved it. I said to him, I'm like, you're probably one of those, if it's 95 degrees out, you're still in jeans and boots. He's like, oh yeah, you know it.
I would die. I would be like, get me out of here. I can't do it. I'm done. I'm sweating from my kneecaps. It's not allowed.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's why your program is so important. You're getting kids that, you know what, they probably don't know what the hell they want to do in the future, like all of us, but you're showing them like, oh, I can do this. For sure. And, they don't have to be athletes. They don't have to care about sports at all, but they can still fall in love with the profession.
Absolutely. And that's the big thing that it's not even like we have to do the programs. It's just getting information out there, doing like a highlight video. Like you can send to like a biology teacher and say, hey, highlight the biology in turf grass management. And this is like just a little talk you can show in your class if you have like a botany, like saying like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to the actual like a whole overall education thing. And I think we've shown this in our classes is that so many kids go to school and they're like, why am I doing this? Why am I learning about this? What is the purpose behind any of this? Like, we show all of the areas, the math, the science, the chemistry specifically, the biology behind it, the soil sciences that goes into all that. And like, then you bring in the business side of having to run a field and a budget and having to be able to be literate, like understanding how to read a label, understanding how you read just reports and everything. Like, this is just a great opportunity to sort of consolidate education. And I think there are great opportunities elsewhere, but like as an industry, we should be doing more to sort of bring that to sort of the light, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's so funny you say that. Back in when I was in Altoona, we used to do this give back program where we'd go into schools and talk about our jobs, and I hit on the points exactly what you're making. It's like, look, I use my biology that I learned in high school, algebra, geometry, all that stuff that when you're that age, you go, when am I ever going to use this stuff in real life? And there I am doing measurements using the Pythagorean theorem. So there's so much, talking about the chemistry, meteorology, all that stuff. So that's right.
All right, 2 minutes in. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely. I'm glad we got to do this for sure. Too.
We'll definitely do
a lot of fun.
More realistic.
Yeah.
We'll do it when you come to Brentsville. We'll do it in the studio.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your SFMA.
Thank you very much, man.